Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Irina and I live in Moscow. Today I'm gonna show you one of the most beautiful, luxurious and famous streets in Moscow, Ostozhenka Street. Our journey begins at the Parkov-Turi metro station. We're gonna walk along Ostozhenka Street and its surroundings. Ostozhenka Street is one of Moscow's oldest and most prestigious streets, often called the Golden Mile, due to its luxury real estate. The name comes from the old Russian word Ostozhye, meaning a place for storing hay. In medieval times, it was farmland outside the city walls. By the 17th and 18th century, Ostozhenka became part of Moscow's White City, home to noble families and monasteries. In the late 90s and early 20th centuries, it became a fashionable area for the wealthy elite, with many Art Nouveau and neoclassical buildings. During the Soviet era, many mansions were nationalized and some were replaced by Soviet-style buildings. Since the 1990s, Ostozhenka has transformed into Moscow's most expensive area, full of high-end apartments, luxury boutiques, and exclusive restaurants. And the first point of our route is Proviantskiye Warehouses. The word Proviantskiye means provision. These warehouses were built in the first half of the 19th century by architect Fyodor Shostakov to store food supplies for the Russian army. The design follows the Empire style with a grand symmetrical facade and large arched windows. In 2011, it became home to the Moscow Museum, where you can now explore the city's history, how Moscow was built, how people lived, and how it changed over time. Definitely worth a visit. The next landmark of our route is Abrikosov Estate. The Abrikosov Estate is a historic mansion owned by the Abrikosov family. Famous Russian confectioners. The Abrikosovs founded one of Russia's most successful candy and chocolate factories in the 19th century. The factory was one of the biggest in Russia and family was incredibly wealthy. The estate was built in the late 19th century and is an elegant example of classical Moscow architecture. The house itself is a classic Moscow mansion with an elegant facade and spacious rooms. After the 1917 revolution, like many aristocratic homes, it was taken by the state and repurposed. And to see our next attraction, we need to turn into Kropotkinsky Lane, and here it is, Alexander Derozhinskaya Mansion, one of the most outstanding examples of Moscow Art Nouveau architecture. The Derozhinskaya Mansion was built between 1901 and 1903. It was designed by the famous Russian architect Fyodor Shechtel for Alexandra Derozhinskaya, a wealthy heiress of a textile empire. She was known for her independent spirit and progressive views, which were reflected in the mansion's innovative design. Since 1959, the Derozhinskaya Mansion has been home to the Embassy of Australia in Moscow. If you like Russian literature, you will definitely enjoy our next landmark, Ivan Turgenev's House Museum. The 19th century wooden mansion belonged to Varvara Turgeneva, the mother of famous Russian writer Ivan Turgenev. The author spent part of his childhood here, and the house later became a museum dedicated to his life and work. Inside, visitors can see period furniture and personal items belonging to the Turgenev family. The building has survived despite many reconstructions in the surrounding area. If you were familiar with Turgenev's work, you probably know about the complex life story of the dog Mumu. The events that Turgenev described in his book took place in this house, and the townspeople unofficially called the house of Mumu. And to see our next attraction, we just need to cross the road, the Eropkin mansion on Ostozhenka Street. The Eropkin mansion is built in the style of Russian Classicism, constructed in 1771 by the famous Russian architect Matvey Kozakov. It was commissioned by General Pyotr Eropkin, a prominent military leader. Following the 1917 revolution, the building housed various educational institutions. Since 1930, it has been home to the Moscow State Linguistic University. Today, the Eropkin estate stands as a significant cultural and historical monument, reflecting Moscow's rich architectural heritage. And it takes only a few minutes to get to one more beautiful landmark, Loskov's rental apartment building. The mansion was built in 1906 by architect Alexander Zelenko for Pyotr Loskov, a wealthy merchant. This building is a prime example of the Northern Art Nouveau style, featuring elements reminiscent of a medieval castle, such as a prominent corner tower and rough stonework on the lower floors. Originally, the house contained only 4 spacious 8-room apartments designed for affluent tenants. Notably, the famous Russian general Alexei Brusilov lived here from 1916 to 1926. Since 1960, it has housed the embassy of Syria. Recent restoration efforts have returned the mansion to its original architectural splendor, and it is now recognized as a cultural heritage site. I was going to tell you about the master's house from Mikhail Bulgakov's novel The Master and Margarita, but unfortunately the building is under reconstruction, so I'll tell you about it another time. We are getting back to the main street and going to the next landmark. The Kekusheva mansion is a notable example of Art Nouveau architecture. The mansion was built by the architect Lev Kekushov for his family in the early 1900s. The property was owned by his wife Anna Kekusheva. This 3-story building resembles a medieval Gothic castle. It features intricate details and a distinctive tower with a lion at the top. Nearby, at 19 Ostozhenka Street, stands the Kekusheva apartment building, also designed by Lev Kekushov around the same time. This building served as a rental property. It showcases Art Nouveau elements, including ornate facades and decorative motifs. The next landmark that is definitely worth seeing is Zachatievsky Monastery. Zachatievsky Monastery, or the Convent of the Conception, is one of the oldest nunneries in Moscow. It was first founded in the 14th century, but the buildings you see today are mostly from the 19th and early 20th century. The name comes from the Russian word Zachatiye, meaning conception, and the monastery is dedicated to Saint Anna, the mother of the Virgin Mary. The convent was closed during Soviet times and used for other purposes, but in the 1990s it was returned to the church and restored. Today it's an active monastery with nuns living and working there. It's also known for its beautiful white walls, golden domes, and a peaceful atmosphere right in the middle of the city. The Lyzhin mansion is a beautiful Art Nouveau building on Ostozhenka Street. It was originally built in the 19th century and later redesigned by famous architect Lev Kekushov for a wealthy textile businessman, Alexander Lyzhin. The mansion features elegant curves, floral details, and a mix of old and modern styles typical for early 20th century Moscow. The Varvarinskoye Housing Society building is a historic apartment house on Ostozhenka Street. It was built in the early 1900s by a cooperative of property owners. The building has a strong, solid look with elements of neoclassicism and Art Nouveau. It was designed to offer comfortable apartments for rent, and many well-off Muscovites live here. Writer Mikhail Bulgakov often visited his friend here, and it's believed that apartment 66 inspired a scene in The Master and Margarita, where poet Ivan chases Voland. Today it's still a residential building and a nice example of early 20th century urban housing in Moscow. The Filatov rental house is a notable example of Art Nouveau architecture from early 20th century. It was owned by merchant Yakov Filatov and designed to bring in rental income from wealthy tenants. The building mixes neoclassical and Art Nouveau styles. One of the most unique features is the turret with an upside-down glass dome at the top. The townspeople call this building the house under the glass. According to a local lore, merchant Yakov Filatov, who commissioned the building, overcame a drinking problem and included the inverted glass as a symbol of his sobriety. The facade is decorated with marine motifs like shells and fish, which add to its charm and historical value. The red chambers, because of the renovation work, they are white today, but Originally, they are supposed to be red. This is a historic building in Moscow located in the intersection of Ostozhenka and Prichistinka streets, built in the 1680s as the main house of the estate of the nobleman Boris Yushkov. It is a vivid example of architecture from that time. The building is designed in the style of Naryshkin Baroque with typical white window frames on red brick. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the chambers changed owners several times, including merchants and nobles. During the Soviet period, the building served various purposes, including houses, a restaurant, and an art gallery. After years of neglect, restoration began in 2007 with the goal of turning the building into a public cultural space. Today, the building is being renovated again. The Church of Elia the Ordinary is one of the oldest churches in Moscow. We don't know the date of its construction, but the first mention of it dates back to the end of the 16th century. The word ordinary, or обыденный in Russian, means that the church was built in just one day, an old tradition used to protect the city from things like disease or disaster. Most likely the church was built because of the drought. The church was rebuilt a few times, but it still keeps its old Moscow look. During Soviet times, it was closed, but it reopened in the 1990s. Today, it's an active church with a long history and peaceful vibe, even though it's close to the busy city center. The Pertsova house is a bright and unusual building in the Neo-Russian Art Nouveau style. It's located on Prichistinskaya embankment in Moscow. It was built in 1907 for Pyotr Pertsov, an engineer and art lover who wanted to create a rental house for artists and writers. The design was made by artist Sergei Malutin, and the architect was Nikolai Zhukov. The house looks like something from a Russian fairy tale, with its rich decorations, pointed roofs, and colorful ceramic panels. The artwork on the building includes mythical creatures, fairy tale birds, flowers, and Russian folk patterns, all done in bright colors. Famous artists like Robert Falk and Pavel Sokolovskaya used to live there. In 1908 and 1909, there was also a popular cabaret called The Bat, a cool spot for Moscow's creative crowd. Today, the building is owned by the Russian Foreign Ministry and is used as an office space. The Tsvetkov mansion is a beautiful and unique building on Prichistinskaya embankment in Moscow. It was built between 1899 and 1901 for Ivan Tsvetkov, a famous art collector and philanthropist. He originally used it as a private gallery to show his big collection of Russian paintings and drawings. The house looks like something from a fairy tale, with red brick, white stone details, colorful tiles, and decorations. The design was made by architects Boris Schnaubert and Vasily Bashkirov, and the artistic details were created based on sketches by Viktor Vasnetsov, a well-known Russian painter. In 1909, Tsvetkov donated the house and his collection to the city. Later, in 1942, the building became the residence of the French military attaché, and it still has that diplomatic role today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give me your thumbs up, leave your comments, and subscribe to my channel for more walks and hidden gems of the city.